Ladies and gentlemen, how are we today? And welcome to the Circus of Safety videocast where Andy, Des, and I, Brenton, so strap in. This is going to be a team up. Let's get on with it. Des, how are you today, buddy?
I'm doing good. Not as sketchy as your internet connection, evidently.
No, I know, and I can't. Listen, again, you know, it's really great. I'm powered by Sign On Site. Thank you again to the lovely team there for the phenomenal piece of equipment. The one thing I seem to be struggling with though is Spark. So Spark, New Zealand's arguably largest fibre internet provider. If you could lift your game, that'd be appreciated. We've got a show to run here. Andy, how are you, mate?
Very well. Yep, enjoying life. Been travelling this week. Loving being back home.
Nice, mate. Now, I'm not a big believer in ghosts, but there appears to be one hovering behind you there, mate. Do you want to make a wee little introduction?
Yeah, this is my safety advisor, Oliver.
Nice.
He's new at the role. He just came through to report that a friend of his at school had been getting their house water blasted, and he came through to tell me that there was no edge protection when this was happening. So
wow,
Oliver's 9, and he's learning to do it the right way.
Good work, Oliver. Good work. Welcome to the show, mate. You need to get him a headset, and maybe we could get him on the show, and he could contribute to the success of this.
Oh, definitely.
Awesome. Hey, well, listen, what a week. Well, you two have been sitting back doing nothing, certainly saving lives. I've been rubbing shoulders with the international safety community over in Sydney at the 23rd World Health and Safety Congress. It's been phenomenal, absolutely amazing. You can see I even got a bunch of merch. That's it there. I can't even get my head right. So that's the official logo for the 23rd Congress on Workplace Health and Safety, which was great. It's been a massive week, loads of learning. I'm going to leave you with probably my biggest takeaway, and I'm really hoping this comes up on the wheel today. Well, we've got a topic that's similar to it, but the big theme, the big takeaway from me from this week was collaboration. Now, I just want to point it out. If you hadn't worked it out, what we are doing here, oh, wow. I thought we were collaborating because I still haven't received my mug. But anyway, Andy's got to rub it in. This is collaboration. Okay.
You were saying, Brenton? Go ahead, mate.
I'm trying to run a professional show here, guys. We're supposed to be collaborating and making the world a better place in terms of safety. So anyway, that's what we're doing. My big takeaway from the World Congress was all about collaboration. So look forward to exploring that a bit more over the time. But hey, last week, what a topic, right? What a topic. It was episode 11. It was fantastic. And I just want to read some feedback that we got. One of the comments we didn't manage to get to during the show. So I just thought I'd kind of reach out. A big thank you to Fiona Jones, who is currently the Health, Safety and Wellbeing Manager for Transport Services at Waka Kotahi, New Zealand's transport agency. On last fortnight show, Fiona's comments were, it's an outcome of what you have done, not something you do. In your description of your biking and fire teams, that you could rip each other up and push each other in the way that was because you had, I should have probably read this before I started the show, done what was needed to create a psychologically safe environment. You'd say, so what you're saying is we could rip each other apart and banter, give each other a bit of banter. I guess arguably what you two are doing here against me, because we'd already built up that psychologically safe environment in order to do that. Also,
that's a nice way of putting it. I like that.
Yeah. Also, are you sure if those near hypothermic folks were in a sound frame of mind to make a good decision? In that situation, I would be relying on you to make the right decision for me. Probably not the same thing as psychological safety. No, Fiona, probably not. But what I just want to acknowledge is what I took away from those comments is that I was right. So thank you. And that's really all I need to carry on with this show. But hey, listen, before people start taking my advice too literally, as always, I think it's incredibly important that we just protect ourselves. So Des, over to you, mate.
Thanks, Brent. And when we talk about winning hearts and minds of people when it comes to health and safety,
we do all the time.
Disclaiming.
That's yeah. I don't. Yeah. Well, fair enough.
You guys haven't come across that?
No.
So you rarely see disclaiming as a company value or a mission statement. And it's disappointing. And I've recently been converted to a new way of thinking about this. So I'm sure you would have heard of zero harm.
Yes.
Well,
who hasn't, mate? Who hasn't? It's actually it's a topic on the wheel, mate.
Well, there you go. So let's get ready for zero liability, the new standard in disclaiming.
Love it.
So, gentlemen, this is based on the idea that all liability is preventable, and this is a belief, this is a value, this is who we are. So, on that basis, the comments in this show are of a general nature only and should not be acted upon, and listeners should seek expert advice specific to their circumstances. Zero liability is achievable. It is our goal. So let's do it.
Wow. I've got to be fair, Des. I don't know what to say. That was awesome. Absolutely awesome.
Hearts and minds, Brent. Hearts and
minds, mate. Hearts and minds. I'm going to go to work and I'm going to ask the team if we can reevaluate our company values. I should really take that advice. So thank you, Des. Andy, I mean, you've mentioned you've been traveling. Anything that you want to share from the world of training? You know, any kind of golden nuggets of popcorn we can take away?
Well, yeah. Well, there's always stuff to say. Just great week down in the South Island.
Awesome. So let's get on.
No. I just want to reflect for a moment on. We've been doing this for 6 months now, and during that time, I think that one thing.
12 episodes, mate. 12 episodes.
This is almost 6 months. Yep. Which is. The importance of friendship has just become more and more apparent throughout these last 6 months. So there's two people that I'd really like to mention at this point. Richard and Nicole in Nelson. I was down there doing some work this week. It was my birthday on Monday, and those two clubbed together and got me a pair of socks and took me out for dinner and got me a cake. And I just thought that's really what friendship is about, isn't it? Knowing when people's birthdays are. And sending them gifts and cards. So I'd just like to thank those two for that fantastic thing that they did for me. Anyway, over to you, Brenton.
Wow. Okay, so I don't know what Des's excuse was, mate. I was out rubbing shoulders with the international community of safety, and you're worried about your birthday. I mean, mate, let's get real. There are higher priorities in life than Andy's birthday, mate. I was trying to help save lives globally. Des, what's your excuse for missing Andy's birthday on Monday?
Happy birthday, Andy.
Thanks, Des. Brenton still hasn't said it. He's just come with excuses.
Right. I am not going to claim that I did something wrong here. This is all on you for not reminding me, Andy. All on you, right?
It's not about blame.
No, but in this situation, I think there's an exception to the rule. Okay, hey, listen. It's not about Andy here, as much as he tries to make this show all about him. I think it's time, gentlemen, we bring up the spinning wheel of death. Anybody got anything particular that they would like to see land today?
Well, I keep saying passion or passionate, but I wouldn't mind. It's a legal document. I would like to talk about that.
Cool. Nice. Andy, anything from you, mate?
Yeah, I'd like to listen to Des talk about it's a legal document.
Well, and sticking with my theme for the week, and a wee little incident that I had this week. So the theme of the conference, like I mentioned to you, for me this week was collaboration. And I had a wee little incident, one would argue, with a supposedly another professional during the week. And I want to talk about professional courtesy in the industry. So fingers crossed. I mean, so far, let's be fair, it's generally landed on something that I've wanted to talk about. So here we go again. Are we ready, team?
We're ready.
Here we go.
What?
Should we make safety simple? Well, there we go. That wasn't anything we wanted to talk about. This is going to be awkward.
We keep jinxing ourselves with our preferences here.
I think we do. Now, to be fair, I don't quite know. Should we just wrap the show up? I mean, this isn't anything we wanted to talk about.
I can kick
right?
this one off with a question to each of you.
Okay. The question, go for it. Let's go.
Okay, Brenton, should we make safety simple?
I'm going to say yes, Des. We should. We should
Andy,
make safety as simple as possible.
Should we make safety simple?
It depends on what your definition of safety and what your definition of simple is.
Oh, here we go.
I'm going to take that as a yes.
That's fine if you want to. If that's your interpretation, that's fine.
So, assuming we've defined what safety is, should we be making it simple?
If it's possible to make it simple, yes. But simple to who? Simple to whom? Sorry, that should be whom. Because
that's a good point. So let's I guess Des, I mean you, okay, so this wasn't a topic that we wanted to, obviously it's something we wanted to talk about, right? Because it's on the wheel. We've obviously one of the three of us have decided it was something we needed to kind of explore. So, and that's what the show's all about, right? It's about exploration. It's about unpacking these things that we hear banter around the place. So there's your initial thoughts, mate. Can we make safety simple?
Should we make safety simple? My answer is actually no.
Ooh,
and that's why I wanted it on the board, because I knew I would have a different view to everyone else.
And now you'll notice that's why I've put you on the bottom of the screen, because the two of us, Andy and I, are coming for you, Des. We're coming for you.
Bring it on.
So Andy, putting aside your whole did we define it? How do we define it? Where are you at this, mate?
What was that? Broadly speaking, if we've defined the terms appropriately, then yes, we should. But it depends on simple to whom.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's. I guess that's going to hopefully be something we can explore, because I think we will tend to agree, right? So okay. Well, let's throw out there. You know, we do like a little bit of controversy on the show. Just because you're highly educated, incredibly well traveled, and very intellectual. What is your talk us through why we shouldn't make safety simple? What's your initial kind of like take on it?
Well, my view on this is that it's just a poor choice of words. I think when people say they want to make safety simple, what they really mean is they want to make safety clearer or give clarity to safety. I think making safety is sometimes very, very complex, and the things that we do as humans are very, very complex, and risk can be very, very complex, and trying to make that simple can be a bit of a trap. Trying to make it clear is a much more sort of rational, pragmatic approach, in my view. And so the word shouldn't be to make safety simple, it should be to make safety clear.
But again, just to kind of, so don't disagree with making it clear. I think there's a whole issue there around a marketing ploy by safety consultants, not looking at anyone on the show in particular, but by making things unclear or complicated, I guess at the front end, people have to keep calling that particular consultant back, right? Because they need to unpack it. But isn't safety simple? I mean, it's the principles of safety are the principles of safety, and aren't the principles simple? You've got a hazard. We got the outcome of that hazard or the harm, and we put stuff in the middle to stop it. I mean, isn't it really that simple?
Look, I've seen this play out in situations where people have implemented rules where you have to wear hearing protection if someone has to raise their voice in order to be understood by someone else, which is it's probably an attempt to make things simple for people trying to do their job, but it's just completely missed the point. It's so much more complicated than that. And by trying to make it simple, they've missed the point that they might actually need double hearing protection after a suitable noise monitoring assessment. It's far more complex than that, like respiratory protection, for instance. And I'm still only just talking about PPE, but you need to know what size of the particulates that you're dealing with, what the appropriate type of respirator is, or you might be talking about vapors. what the appropriate type of respirator is, the fit testing. You can't just go in and say you just need to wear a respirator and call that making safety simple. You've missed oodles of important information.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. No. That. Hey, listen. You're apparently. We're all entitled to our opinion, and I guess. I mean, my thoughts. It sounds like you've just been poorly executing controls poorly, rather than the principle. And I guess that comes back to what are we talking about? Right? Are we talking about when we talk about making safety simple? And maybe this is where I guess a little bit of confusion comes into it, and is. Already in this conversation, I think you and I are talking about two totally different things. Like I'm talking about the principles of safety, right? There's a hazard. We're trying to stop an outcome, and we chuck a whole bunch of stuff in the middle to do that. In my mind, that's incredibly simple. Now, some of those controls and how we get to those controls, appreciate the complexities or the specificities around that. So maybe it is about which part of the process we're talking about. Andy, jumping over to you, mate. What you in a roundabout sort of way agreed with me and said that Des is wrong and safety should be simple. I mean, what's your thoughts on it? What's your takeaway? I mean, you're stood in front of arguably thousands of people every year, heaven forbid, and God save them, educating them on the principles of safety. I mean, let's hear it from an educated professional here. What are your thoughts?
I think you're both right, and I think it goes. Which basically reinforces my point to start off with. I mean, we could make this show in 5 minutes if you just listened to me and stopped you two ranting on. So you're right. I think the concept is really, really simple. The concept of safety is simple. In my experience, most people haven't been exposed to that simple concept about the hazard and the harm, and they get confused with words like risk. I think Des is also right in that there's complexity within the effectiveness of controls.
That's my hand up. That's my hand up.
No, I'm just going to ignore it for a minute because you're blurry, and we'll come back to you in a moment. But when I was talking about it's simple to whom, the complexity around which RPE to use, depending on the particulates that you're dealing with, that shouldn't really be. That should be made simple to the worker. The complexity sits with the organisation. And I think I think it does. So I think the organisation should do the assessment, what particulates are available, what mask should be worn, what PP is worn. They should provide it. And fundamentally to the workers, they just need to wear it and look after it. And that's simple. But expecting your workers to do more than that is where complexity and safety don't work together, I think.
I mean, Des, do you tend to agree with Andy on that? Or, I mean, is that kind of making a bit of sense, barking up your tree sort of thing?
Yeah, it is. And you're quite right making that distinction between how you sort of think about safety from a higher level and then how you execute it. They're potentially two different things. And the complexity of controls is really what I was talking about. But I've seen people take that attempt to make safety simple by coming up with things like if you have to yell to someone adjacent to you to be understood, then you need a certain type of hearing protection. Well, that's not making safety simple. That's just getting it wrong.
So it could almost be the case that that's not actually doing safety, though, isn't it? Because you're not actually protecting the worker.
Yeah.
And some good points there. And I know, Andy, you and I have spoken about this in particular with the old hazard matrix, a hazard register, hazard and risk register, whatever you want to call it, right? So often we tend to end up, and maybe this is what you're saying, Des, is this maybe not so much we shouldn't make safety simple, and depending on who we're targeting, but it's about understanding how to communicate safety effectively to the right audience, right? So how often, and it was interesting, I was in a building, we're doing some work in this building, and I was stood at the bottom of the tradesman's lift, because I will lower my standards, and I will get in the tradies lift from time to time, and I was stood out the front of this tradies lift, and I looked up, and lo and behold, there we go, in front of me was this hazard and risk register for the building. I was like, wow, these guys take safety seriously, right? And then I fell asleep after the first line. My lift turned up, I put it back in, and I got in. And often with the hazard and risk register, I guess there's this thought that we need to push the entire register onto individuals, as opposed to simplifying and pushing out the information that those individuals need to know, right? So it's sounding to me, maybe we're thinking it's more about an application of safety, that we're going from one extreme to the next, if that makes any sense. Is that kind of what we're thinking, maybe?
Yeah, absolutely. But again, you can't. In my mind, you can't get away from. We need that clear definition of what safety actually is, because is having a hazard register or a risk register with 1,000 entries, is that doing safety?
But no, and this is what you and I have spoken about, right? Having that hazard and risk register with 1,000 line items, it's about understanding who the audience that you're trying to reach is with that information. And the conversation we've taken away from that is that hazard and risk register with 1,000 line items is a tool for the health and safety professional, right? A tool for the safety professional to really understand whether we've identified everything we need to identify, putting in place to bring it all together. How we distill and how we push that information out to the worker is one thing, and what they'll get is one vision, versus, say, our board of directors or our officers, what they get would be another version of it. Should either of those two parties see the entire register? Well, maybe if they're boring as batshit and they're like us and they want to see it, yep. But the question, I guess, and that's where maybe I'm coming from, that safety should be simple. We shouldn't be giving a worker 1,000 line item hazard and risk register and saying, learn this. To understand what the hazards are, what they're going to do to you, and what we want you to do to manage them. That's not where I'm going there. So that's why I believe it's maybe more about the delivery of the message needs to be adjusted, as opposed to, although I do still believe the principles are simple, hazard, harm, things in the middle. But yeah, any further thoughts, Des, before we move on, mate?
Yeah, I think I agree. I think the role of a health and safety person, especially sort of within an organization, is to take that complexity and turn it into workable solutions, sort of on an operational day by day basis. So in that sense, yeah, you are making safety simple, but I just have a problem with that terminology. It can be a bit of a trap, thinking that your controls are simple and every aspect of it's simple. It's not.
Yeah, but I guess, and we spoke about this a couple of times. I know one of our very first topics was on safety differently, or the new view, and I guess it came back. Fundamentally, it came down to the way it was being described, right? Say the new view. Really, is it really something new? And I think we discussed that actually at the heart of it, the principles of all that this new stuff actually isn't new. It's a different way of maybe looking at how we maybe have rolled safety out previously, but it's nothing. What's been rolled out it's not world changing. It's been done before in other areas and other manufacturers, and we're just finally woken up in the safety space maybe and pulled across. So I guess, and that's the issue that we're facing, isn't it? There's all these terms out there that are quite often misunderstood. And possibly that's what's causing that confusion. So jumping up to Andy again then. So obviously appreciate that we agree that there's sort of you and I are definitely on the same page, and I think it looks like we're swinging Des around. But in terms of keeping safety simple in Safetyville, Andy, do you feel there's a place? And if there is a place for keeping safety simple in Safetyville, whereabouts do you think that might sit?
I think the key element of safety is engagement. You've got to have people have got to be engaged in it, and to be engaged in something, you really need to understand it. And I think there's a huge lack of understanding out there amongst workers and pretty much everyone in organisations about what safety actually is and what it isn't. And one of the exercises I often do is get people to at the start of a session to draw a picture of safety, and we end up with all sorts of weird and wonderful stuff, which is great, but it's all different. And people need to have a really simple understanding, a real clear mental model of what safety is. Because once you've got a mental model of something, you can hang everything else on it, and everything else can start to make sense. At the moment, in most people's brains, safety is this really disparate collection of of things that don't necessarily connect clearly to each other. And a lot of this comes from, in New Zealand in particular, I think a lot of this comes from ACCWSMP audit tool, where people built health and safety management systems following the 12 critical elements. Probably got that number wrong, someone correct me. But you write your policy, then you do your engagement, then you do your risk management, then you do your injury management, then you do your accident investigation. And all of these things were actually taught and thought of as being separate, independent things. When the reality is they're all linked. And we just don't have, most people just don't have the model or the mental model to understand how they are linked. And I think once people understand how all these things are linked, safety becomes a lot easier to people to understand, and therefore it becomes easier to engage in, and therefore safety just improves. And we don't need more stuff, we just need more understanding.
So when you talk about people don't seem to understand, or people aren't getting the fact that safety isn't as simple as the 12 steps to, world peace.
Yeah.
Who are you talking about, Eddie? Who are you referring to? Are you referring
Everybody.
to the safety professional, or are you referring to the worker, the officers? I mean, where are you
almost
sitting there?
I mean, the litmus test for me is generally get somebody. Often people say, we need to engage a safety professional to do some work. And I say, okay, well, I'm too busy, so you have to go with someone else. And they say, who should you go for? I said, I don't do recommendations. I said, but one of the questions you should ask them is, in 20 seconds, get them to explain to you the difference between a hazard and a risk. And I think if someone can't do that within 20 seconds, they don't really know what they're doing.
But then, so in order for, fascinating concept. So if the individual asking the question says to the safety consultant, tell me in 20 seconds, what's the difference between a hazard and risk? That safety consultant, if they're worth their salt, and one may argue I can baffle people with bullshit, throws out a whole bunch of stuff. If that person asking the question doesn't understand the difference between a hazard and risk, how do they know whether I've baffled them or haven't baffled them?
Because I would then say to them, what they tell you, does it make sense to you? If it makes sense to you, you've probably got it right.
Oh, okay. Interesting. Des, your thoughts? I mean, I guess we're probably we're tending to kind of see where you're leading with this. With your thoughts, do you feel that the concept of making safety simple has a place in safety vault and or not? I guess it may possibly in your case. I don't want to put words in your mouth. And if it doesn't have a place or does have a place, where or why not? Interested to get your thoughts.
Well, my first instinct is to say no, it doesn't have a place because the term's so easily misused.
Okay.
And I see that every day, and it causes problems. So I would say no. We should stop trying to say that safety must be simple, or that we should make safety simple. We should make safety clear and understandable. And I think that's what we really mean when we say that. And I think if it's clear and understandable, there's less of an opportunity for those terms to be misused or misapplied.
But I guess the challenge there, though, is, I mean, we've already sort of identified you and me are possibly talking about different aspects of safety, right? So personally, and I still believe this, the principles of safety are simple, right? They're not hard. There's a thing called a hazard. It's going to result in something, and generally our role is to put stuff in the middle to stop that, generally the negative stuff happening, right? The principle is the principle, which is the principle no matter where you go, no matter how you apply it, it's that, and that's, I guess, what I'm referring to as simple. Whereas I don't think that's I don't know whether you even agree with that. So that's a whole nother conversation. Well, I guess we've got a bit of time to fill. So what are your thoughts on that aspect of safety being simple?
Yeah, certainly. Like I do agree with you. The high level stuff is simple. The process of doing a risk assessment is a pretty simple process. It's I think what I'm talking about very much is the depth of information required to execute the controls correctly.
Yeah,
that's
so it's potentially more about understanding your audience and how that information is distilled to that audience, right?
Yeah.
Oh, cool. I mean, me personally, again, I hate to say this, we've ended up coming around in full bloody circle again, but this is why collaboration. See, I've worked that word into it. collaboration is key, right? Because we have these conversations, we have these discussions, and we get to understand the other individual's perspective on it, right? And I think while you and I, Des, we agree, but we disagree, but we agree, right? And it's about understanding the context with which we're talking about it. Now, the only way to do that is to have conversations and to collaborate. Otherwise, we end up like a bunch of trunk monkeys bouncing around, bashing each other over the head, and all with the same goal, though, of trying to really levitate occupational health and safety to the forefront.
Brenton, I agree. I agree wholeheartedly. It's with each opinion, there's a new nuance, there's a new take. It's complicated. It's not simple. You're right.
What's complicated? I'm blown away. I don't know whether
that's vicious, man. That's vicious.
Wow. I don't know whether I should be insulted or
yeah. I would be.
Oh, ouch.
You would in one. It's like, and this is why I'm stunned. This is why we're not friends, right? This is why we don't reach out to each other for birthdays and the like, because you elevated me, you lifted me up. And then, like a small Christmas elf, you came along, took out my legs, boom, slammed me on my face, pushed me into the mud. And not only that, you then backed the truck up and carried on over it. All while following the WorkSafe code of practice for using heavy machinery with Andy spotting you. I can't believe what I'm hearing. Absolutely can't believe what I'm hearing. So, Des, let's just keep it with you, mate. Any pros? Well, no, I guess you're going to say no, right? So we'll just move on. Andy, do you see any positives in trying to keep safety simple?
Yeah, I think the word again, Des has highlighted that maybe the word simple isn't correct, but accessible might be the word. So from a training point of view, that's what we always try and do, is make trainings accessible to the audience, and I think that's what we've really been talking around in the background, is that. But then accessible, it becomes simple to the person if it's accessible. So it's all, we end up talking about words, right? And the more safety I do, the more I realise that actually the language of safety is more and more and more important. The terms we use are actually really important. I would never have said that 5 or 6 years ago.
Yeah, very true, and especially I guess when what we're trying to do is a global thing, right? We've got to realise that here in little Aotearoa, we're not on our own. We're trying to do the same thing that other people are doing around the world, and I think that's where, like you said, it's important that we understand, because it can so easily be taken out of context, as Des has kind of tried to point out tactfully that. It's about understanding the nuances of the words and what we're trying to target. I mean, Des, listen, if we approach it from the right angle and we do and we're targeting the right people and we're doing the right thing, I mean, do you see any pros in the simplicity, trying to simplify safety in any way, shape, or form?
Yeah, definitely. And I'll go back to my other point about, I think the role of an in-house health and safety person is to take that complexity and make workable solutions. The principles and overriding methodology of how you do that might be simple, but the solutions are often complex.
Yeah, no, fair enough. Good call. And I mean, sticking with that, I mean, obviously, it'd just be great to sum up your traps. I mean, you obviously, you've been quite vocal over the show around your opposition to the simplicity of it, or trying to simplify it around using controls. Any other traps you think we should be watching out for if we're trying to make it a bit more accessible? Apparently, is the new trend word.
Well, it's probably just the use of it as a trend word. It's a bit of rhetoric that doesn't really carry much meaning unless the person behind it is actually going to execute on what they say. And I think I would add it to the list of terms like moving beyond compliance that everyone sort of says, "Oh yeah, that sounds great," when they hear it, but doesn't really think much more about it. I think as a profession, if we're going to call ourselves that, we need to really understand what it is we're saying as a profession and what we're agreeing to, whether it's conscious or not conscious.
Great. No, some great words of advice there. Andy, do you see any traps with the concept of trying to keep safety simple?
I agree with what Des has said largely. The trap, I think, would be it's just more rhetoric in an industry that's full of rhetoric and words that nobody knows what they mean. And everyone's talking at cross purposes, but we all try to achieve the same thing, which goes back to that simplicity that you were talking about of, really what we're trying to do is not difficult. We're trying to identify a source of energy and prevent that source of energy from impacting a person. At its fundamental level, that's all we're trying to achieve. And that shouldn't be that difficult as a concept. The application has got significant complexities in it, though, because of the nature of the energy sources that we're dealing with.
Yeah, no, good point. And I guess I'm just kind of talking about buzzwords, right? And this is the irony. There's another buzzword out there, safety clutter, right? And trying to reduce safety clutter. So the irony now that it's coming to mind for me is by trying to, and this goes back to Des's point, are we actually, as a profession, creating our own clutter by trying to create all these buzzwords, inevitably trying to make safety more accessible to people? So, and I guess that goes back to your point, right, Andy? It's really important we actually understand the words that we're choosing to use to describe what we're doing. If we keep creating all these new buzzwords and these new buzz terminologies, are we actually inadvertently setting ourselves up to fail, right? Which is pretty cool.
I would absolutely 100% agree with that.
So just as we sort of come towards the end of the show there, Andy, I mean, just to wrap up your thoughts on this topic, should we make safety simple? Your last wrap up thoughts?
Initially, yes. Now, probably, but we need to change the word.
Wow, cool. Okay, Des, you mate, what's your takeaways? Your wrap up for the show?
Well, I take away that probably what I'm talking about is the execution of control. So maybe next time I challenge this statement, it needs to be specific to that context. That's my takeaway.
Cool.
Would that mean like we define it up front, maybe? Just put it out there.
And just generally to learn when people's birthdays are.
Des, I feel like we're gonna have to kind of break out into song any minute now to sing Andy happy birthday, just to make him feel better about himself.
I feel fine. The guilt's not with me.
We know he's quite precious about things. Yeah, I guess listening to you guys and having this conversation, I think I tend to agree. My takeaway would be the high level principles of safety remain simple. There's a hazard. We're trying to stop harm, and we do that by or negative outcomes, and we do that by trying to chuck a bunch of stuff in the middle, right? I tend to agree. It's really important though that maybe that's a backhand secret handshake type concept that we have, and running around trying to promote it as keeping safety simple to the end user is potentially not where it needs to be. And we need to just be mindful. I think that's probably my thoughts. We need to be mindful on how we describe this simplifying safety, right? Because the way we describe it results in what we do to try and do that, and therefore we potentially end up with problems. So there we go. Wrap up. Next couple of weeks, Des, anything exciting for you, mate?
Not really, just business as usual, but I do have a few end of show wrap up items to bring to everyone's attention. So our milestone of 100,000 words spoken by Brenton in a single show has not been met this week, which is a bit disappointing.
Yes.
But we do have a new word.
Been working really hard on that. Been working really hard, Des.
We do have a new word to add to the English lexicon, and it is specificities.
Specificities. That's a real word, man.
That's good.
So are you now saying I'm making up words? Is that what we're saying?
You're enriching the English language.
Oh. Awesome.
And also, Andy, last week you wanted some numbers associated with behavioural-based liability.
Yes.
Behavioural-based disclaiming. So I've, based on the data from that one show, I've calculated a total liability frequency rate over 200,000 hours, which is a 12-month rolling average. And that is 14.72136.
Yeah, I'm happy with that.
And as of this point in this show, that's actually gone up to 15.2378. Averaged over 12 months. So
yeah. That's quite a show then.
I'm wondering
the
if we
trend
need
is
a
not good.
training. Wonder whether we need a training activity, Des, by yourself to help us really make sure we get maximum value out of those. I'm now crying. Sorry. Get those maximum numbers. Get the best understanding out of those numbers. So maybe we can do a show purely on
Maybe like a traffic light dashboard or something like that. We could
what the graphs.
do that.
Can you work on that for the next show?
Yeah, draw something up.
Andy, anything exciting for you, mate, over the next couple of weeks?
Yeah. Block out of a diploma Monday, Tuesday in Auckland, and then following week down to Central North Ireland doing some work with some forestry companies.
Nice.
Good stuff.
No, sounds exciting. Talking about Nick, I personally am going to just be coming back down to earth after the levitating heights of being out on the.
Get that written down, Des.
Gravitating. So that's more about my definitions, right? Gravitating should be going down, right? But levitating is going up. So coming back down to the substandard heights of BAU, no more international connections, rubbing shoulders with the who's who of the safety world, and I'm going to have to actually get some work done. So, but talking about Nick's show, Nick's show's last show. But don't panic, nothing to panic about. Last show for the year, we will be wrapping up the season 1 of the Circus of Safety in the next episode. So that'll be episode 13. Lucky for some, they say. No, unlucky. I don't know. Anyway, next fortnight, it'll be the last show for the year where we wrap up. I don't know, boys, we've got a planning session, I think, in between that, don't we? Maybe we'll wrap up the show with something a little bit different and do something special for Christmas as we all head off on holidays and have a bit of a break from each other, to be fair. So it should be good. Hey, listen, just kind of also, again, a big reason, although I think we're all questioning ourselves today, maybe everyone's hungover and we don't seem to be having anybody contributing to the show. So we've actually had to carry the show ourselves the entire 45 minutes. And I think we've done a great job, team. But just if it wasn't for our followers, I guess it wouldn't be encouraging us to carry on and we would have given up after one episode. But a big shout out to, I really hope I'm getting these names right. Anahira Graham, who is a health, safety and wellbeing advisor for the Arvida Group Limited. So a big shout out to Anahira. Thanks for tuning in on a semi-regular basis and being a part of this little thing we call the Circus of Safety. So the other thing that's going to be coming up this week, in the next couple of fortnights, we will be putting together a job description for our intern opportunity in the new year. So if you want to be part of the craziness and you want to be part of the Circus of Safety, please keep a lookout on our LinkedIn page for that. So it should be a lot of fun. And Andy, anything? Oh, Des is wagging his finger at me.
That's it. That was 100,000 words. You dragged that out long enough. You did it.
Well, I thought I was getting told off there with the wagging finger. Andy, is there anything you want to talk about our get-together, our planning session, mate, that's coming up?
Yes, I was just thinking maybe after the planning session, maybe we just put it out there that if anyone wants to come and join us for a Christmas beverage, that they're more than welcome to, and we can put some details up on the LinkedIn page. It'll be somewhere in the South Auckland area. But I think that'd be quite nice to give people the opportunity to come and see us. There might be some merch on offer.
Ooh, do you think I'll finally get my mug?
I think I've got a few mugs left. So if you want a mug, come along. Maybe you might get a mug.
I'll be there. finally get my mug. Awesome. Hey team. Well, listen, it's been a great show. I think it's been well worthwhile thrashing this out. There's a lot of stuff out there in the world of safety that kind of does create a bit of confusion, especially when, as we've discovered through this conversation, where it's all about the context within which you use it, right? And how that goes. And if we get that wrong, a simple thing can actually create a whole bunch of complexities that we maybe inadvertently thought about. So listen, until the next time, a big thank you to everyone that tuned in. Hopefully people tuned in today, and look forward to seeing you in a fortnight, and we'll catch you all later.
See ya.
So yeah.